Why do dairy cows lose their balance so easily? Hi, I'm Angel. Welcome to the Authentic Action Podcast, my friends. Today's episode is about balance. And as always, feeling a little bit silly today. I hesitated in my mind there. Am I always silly? Yeah, pretty much always. We might as well call it always. Um, I think that's related to what I want to talk about, this idea of balance. In the old paradigm, there was this either or aspect to balance, a lot like the ticking of a clock or a seesaw, where one side pulls or pushes and then the other side. And I was thinking about how when you step back to more of a global perspective, it's more useful to think about the yin yang symbol for balance, and recognize that at the height of one thing, at the maximum of yin is the seed of yang, and then keeps that spin going. And it's the back and forth of it that creates all of this. This is all about that dynamic tension, because if you create exact equilibrium like the scales of justice symbol, then you have stagnation and nothingness, back to nothing, which is fine, the wu wei, right? The great winter. But if you want a vibrant life, like most of us are a part of enjoying, then you need that movement, that dynamic tension between two sides. And actually in life, well, it's a big convoluted ball, like I was gonna say cat ball, but that's not right. A ball of string? I don't know. Anyhow, I have notes over here and I'm completely off track already. So let me see if I can regroup and bring us back to the main point that I wanted to get at. I think that balance and polarity plus quantum leaping is a key to enjoying what I perceive as a new paradigm that we're all, like it or not, finding ourselves in. I'm excited about it personally, but I understand that it is jarring and uncomfortable and unpredictable, and um, I certainly have my moments of not enjoying it, and I know many people are not enjoying it. I have been a liminal, medial type of woman my whole life, so well, actually, at one point I was a liminal, medial little girl, but now I'm a woman, and so for me, it's exciting to be more in this liminal transitional period of history of human evolution. Um, but that's only because I've spent this life in that state and I've learned how to navigate, how to be comfortable with being uncomfortable a lot. So um, I invite you to get a little bit comfortable with being uncomfortable. Take a deep breath. Let's exhale and just relax into the present moment. Um, gonna back up because I said a lot in a short amount of space a little bit ago. I know I've said a lot and you might not think it's saying much, but the idea that I want to talk about is really about how we can balance, we can do that back and forth, that rotating around, that spiraling around, whatever symbol you want to think of. Um, and that's all fine and dandy, and we do that, and that's what keeps the game going on. And if we bring the idea of quantum leaping, and I think we're ready for this idea because quantum science is now being able to articulate and demonstrate some of the principles of quantum leaping in a more relatable or understandable, comprehensible way. So, um, if you don't know what I'm talking about, then do a little, and you're interested in figuring it out, then do a little dive into quantum science, quantum computing, the double slit experiment. All of those are different things, but if you dive into all of them and combine that with what I'm talking about now, you might be able to understand what the fuck I'm talking about. Good luck to us all. Um, I am not even sure at this point that I'm going to share this podcast, but I am in the middle of a truth or dare experiment with one of my coaches. And so, probably in the spirit of just doing it, I might. Also, I'm a couple days late and nobody else cares but me, but I care. So, sometimes finished is better than perfect. None of this is helping, and that's all right. I think this could be a demonstration of how you got to balance imperfection with your desire for perfection or my desire. I need to balance those things. So, or I strive to. I don't know if I need to. Just a thing that I try to do that I enjoy doing. Let me try to get back to these notes. So, I think that wishing that we never get out of balance is the wish of a dead person. I think we often lament when we're out of balance, especially if we fall on our face or, we've gotten partnered up with somebody on the seesaw, the teeter-totter, who's way disproportional to us, and so we can't get off the ground or we can't get out of the air. You know that feeling? You remember that seesaw? You need some aspect of balance in order to even play, right? And when we get too far out of balance, the whole thing tips over, it doesn't feel good. Or when we balance it so perfectly that there's no motion, while it kind of looks cool for a minute, for one, it never stays that way. And for two, if it did stay that way, it would be the end of everything, right? So it's a good thing that it doesn't stay that way. And quantum science is showing us some very neat things about the nature of um, entropy and chaos to come in even when we have complete stagnation. And I do not understand it all. Um, in a logical, linear way, I do have a pretty good sense of it in an intuitive, gestalt kind of way. And that's one of the things that I'm trying to wrestle with balancing both in my own body as a tomboy type of female and as a human in this point in human history where we are grappling with our sexuality and the the problem between being a wave and a particle, being binary and being fluid. All of this, to my perception, is a similar it's a basket of the same problem that we have on the table because we're in the midst of this paradigm shift. Or perhaps, a lot like when if you balance a ball on the top of a like you turn a convex bowl over and you balance a ball on top of it perfectly, it'll sit there for an for some amount of time, and then eventually it will roll off. And this has been shown mathematically and in the quantum science world. I know I'm going all over the place here. I have a direction, believe it or not. I'm gonna try to bring this all around. You see my spiral symbol. This is a lot how my current framework is working, operating. So thank you for bearing with me in that as I circle the point that I'm trying to make. I think we're in this new global perspective paradigm where it used to be that the I'm going to take one view and you take one view and we just naturally, wrestle it out and balance it out. That works well from a certain perspective, and it worked well at a certain time in history. But right now, because of the internet, because of the fact that you can see me and I'm talking to you, and that and many, many other things are evidence that we are in this more global perspective. We are able to see through each other's eyes more and more and more and more. And so we have a broader perspective, and the idea of just taking one side leads quickly to like an extremism is what I'm experiencing. And I think just like stagnation isn't that good, extremism that isn't that good either, because you get just a sliding off one side and then you end up in the same boat of a loss of that dynamic dance that keeps this whole thing spinning, right? So I think we are due for an upgrade and we're getting it whether we like it or not. I've been calling it a paradigm shift for some time, for a decade or two now, and I'm kind of excited that it feels like it's totally here, or maybe we've teetered off the edge of that, like the ball on the top of the sphere. Perhaps we are rolling again. Maybe we were stagnant. I don't really know. I don't have a big enough, broad enough perspective yet, or at the present moment, as this individual meat suit person that I am. But again, my Gestalt right brain, which side is that? My right brain sense of it is that we're rolling, that we're in the shift. And my upcoming book, by the way, called The Shift, Own Your Emotions, Own Your Life, is still being edited, but is nearly done. And I'm excited about a quiz that I just produced last night to go along with my course, that it goes along with the book. And if you're interested in any of that, you can find a link to my website and or my Facebook page and or many of the other outlets where I am trying to interface with you and offer my offerings to you. You can sign up for my email list, or you can follow me on Amazon as an author and get my book, The Shift, when it comes out. There's my very clunky plug for that. I'm not sure what's going on with me today, but it's a demonstration of what I'm babbling about, which is that you can't possibly hope to be perfectly balanced all the time. You can do things to help keep yourself in a more enjoyable dynamic balancing act, right? Like choosing partners who are equally weighted to you if you're on the seesaw, or um, not resisting the yin yang tendency for things to cycle around or cycle back and forth, just like night and day. And instead of getting really upset every day when the sun goes down and every night when the sun comes up, you could just go with the flow and appreciate every morning when the sun comes up and every night when the sun goes down. And you will have a much better experience, and the sun will still be coming up every morning and going down every night. And actually, when you really get to it, it's not that, it's that we're spinning around, right? So, just mention that because there are so many things like that where we think we know, we have a story about how things are going. Actually, our perception is a tiny, tiny little speck of the whole picture. And so it is much more likely that we don't know shit than we know much. So I just remind us all of that. And why I'm sharing and why I'm passionate about sharing and why I think it is such a beautiful thing when we can share and communicate and understand each other and pause and consider each other's perspectives and appreciate like the weight and the balancing act that one another is doing on, even if we're on what seems like opposing sides of any given game or arena or idea. We need to appreciate that it's the balance between what seems like the opposing side that creates the whole dynamic dance in the first place. And so, in order to keep that alive, in order to fuel our own purpose, our own sense of purpose and meaning, and yeah, enjoy this ride at all. We really need each other. We really need not just people on our side, but we need people on the opposing side. And then we need to hopefully play nice and keep it from getting too extreme so that we don't knock the whole teeter-totter right off the top of the thing. Am I making sense? I hate it when I say, am I making sense lately? I hate it when I hate things. See how that can cascade and drive me right over the edge, and then that's okay. I am pretty good at picking myself back up once I fall on my face. I've had a lot of practice. So, don't worry about me. I'll be all right. I'm not going to worry about you either because I'm just going to worry about me, okay? And when I say worry, I mean be the center, the main concern. I'm my own main concern. Gosh, I went far out there. It's all right. See what happens? You get a little too far out and the whole thing spins right off you get too wobbly and the whole dreidel just rolls right off the table. The dreidel off the table. That rhymes, so you know it's true. I've clearly lost all sense of rhyme and reason and see if I can bring it back. I wanted to mention a book that I got into last year called The Master and His Emissary. I think that's the name of it by Ian McGillis. I may have just butchered his name and the title of the book, but that's close enough. And it's a wonderful book if you're an educator or philosopher or interested in human consciousness in any way. I highly recommend this book. And in it, the author really does a good job of articulating why it is important to balance the two sides of our brain as we think of it. And actually, I mean, there are literally two sides of our brain that are, if you get into the anatomy of the brain and the physiology of the brain, it's quite fascinating. And he does a great job of correlating the physical, the psychological, the neurochemical, and the, I would say, artistic in a way, or the, what we say, the intuitive, maybe, aspects, my other glasses, of this idea of two sides of the brain, two sides of humanity. Um, his work is rooted in an idea which I come across frequently, and I'm increasingly trying to articulate, which is how some of what we feel about society being out of balance has to do with us favoring the more logical or left-hand side of the brain, the more linear, or what's often connected or associated with yang or the masculine or patriarchy. And when the balance is skewed, as it seems to be far over to that side, then we lose our ability to really function fully as a human, has humanity as a, like, if you think of humanity as an organism in and of itself, or if you think of your body as an organism similarly, even though most of us are born as a majority, as a dominantly masculine or feminine, we are currently learning lots about androgynous hormones or estrogen dominant hormonal, there's so much that we're just starting to learn as we uncover new layers of capability with our new technology. So I think I, I got out in the weeds in that, but the basics of what I'm trying to get at is very much relevant to this idea of needing to keep coming back to balance. Now, we don't want to come back to balance in that stagnant way where we just say there's no dance back and forth, but we also don't want to get so far out in any extreme where we tip the whole boat over, or we tip the whole seesaw off the center, or we spin the dreidel off the table, right? So, I think balancing the lens of balancing the two sides of the brain, or if you want to think of it as yin and yang, or if you want to think of it as um, masculine and feminine, or doing and reflecting, all of those are different ways of saying the same thing, um, and that thing being a construct, which is really larger than any of these words can get at individually, which is why I'm throwing so many of them at it. And why I like symbols. I do think like the yin yang symbol, or the symbol of a teeter-totter, or the symbol of a scales, all those are useful. The symbol of a pendulum, those are all very useful to help understand what I'm trying to talk about. Yeah. Do I have a point? If I did, we just roll right off of it eventually, wouldn't we? Some time back, I was feeling like life was very pointless, and I was lamenting that online, and someone turned me on to an old animated film about I wish I could remember the name of it. You might be thinking of it. I think it was fairly well known back in the day when there weren't that many of them. And it's about like a boy with a pointy head. And he's looking for the point, or maybe he's a boy without a pointy head and everybody else has a pointy head. I can't even remember now. Anyway, I think the point of that is that this is an age-old problem. It's been around as long as humans have been able to tell ourselves and each other stories, or scratch out symbols on cave walls to try to express that to each other. And I think it's a beautiful thing. I think you're a beautiful thing, and I think I'm a beautiful thing, and this whole thing is beautiful. So I am grateful that you're here in it with me. I hope you're getting some on you. I hope you're doing your best to keep that dynamic dance, that dynamic balancing act alive. I hope you will join me in embracing a both and mentality, expanding your perspective if you can, and really looking at um, how important it is to appreciate what you might perceive as your opposition or your other side. Like, the whole thing doesn't go without some of that, and we don't have to be enemies in order to be in that dynamic opposing dance. I like the construct of dancing, and I think it's very helpful. If we think of all of this like a dance, then it makes sense that sometimes one partner can lead, sometimes the other partner can lead. Ultimately, no matter who is leading and who is following, just like as is so beautifully articulated in the book, The Master and His Emissary, it is the like both are equally valuable. Neither the master is nothing without the emissary, and the emissary is nothing without the master. And too much logic without any feeling is is devastating and destructive, and too much feeling without enough logic is also devastating and destructive. And so we need to bring the both of them, keep bringing them both back to the table. Go lightly. And remember that life is much too important to take it too seriously. So, on that note, I will try to end on my silly joke that I opened with, which is, why do dairy cows lose their balance so easily? 'Cause they lack toes. You're welcome. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for being you. Thanks for letting me be me. I hope you will follow, give me a review. Maybe don't be too critical about this one. I'm aware that it was pretty out there. I am still working on bringing the shift to the table, my upcoming book and course. And so it's part of why I've been just doing these quick unedited podcasts. But I am super excited to get back in interviewing other people and bringing back more of that balanced, more of that dynamic conversation to these podcast episodes. Going to be diving into a practical healing series. I'm not sure if that's what I'm going to call it still, but I'm excited about that, and that's going to be going along with The Shift, my book. And I think mental health, physical health, fitness in general, and that dynamic balance between all things is an important topic as we dive into the new paradigm. Welcome to this new era. Welcome to this new world. Welcome to the new you. It's 2025, y'all. Hot damn. Let's get it on. Thanks. Woo! I'm excited. I'll be seeing you. Ciao for now.